Okay, so I think I started the recording. Okay, so let's continue our next journey in this thing. Okay, so just before going in case if anyone having any questions, I think I received certain chats in the Teams. So once upon a complete of this lecture, so I think considering your office hours. Oh, I think I haven't given office hours. Okay, so in the office hours today, I'm going to reply to your all the questions. Okay, so in case if you have further questions, you can raise through the Teams chat, and I will reply in the Teams chat. Okay, so that you don't have to wait. So let's continue the next journey. Now compared to our two previous journey, right? The first one and the second one. In the first one, we understood why we require the security, what are the properties of the security, what are the attacks types like passive, active, and any other thing. So that everything we have seen in the first one. In the second one, what we have seen the ciphers, right? Certain ciphers what we have seen in terms of a stream cipher, in terms of a block cipher, kind of things at least we are going to start. Okay, and more details of the block ciphers we are going to see in the next unit also. Okay, now this unit was important, like what are the applications of mathematics. In other words, we are using the number theory in this cryptography, or you can say the security. Okay, so this is a part one of that entire, you can say, the mathematics. The part two will be there in the, I think, next or next to next unit, that is we call the elliptic curve cryptography. So it's like you can say the underlying is the mathematics, how the groups and so on, everything is there. So here we will see some of the things that we require in a security, and the remaining things we will again see after in a unit 2 or 3. Okay, and then this is there. So make sure that these things will be required in your next units, or you can say in a cryptography. So if you want to pursue your kind of research or working in a security, the number theory will be kind of a required, and these fields and groups and everything will be required to understand that at least what is the meaning of that, what are the properties of that. It's fine that when we are using in terms of security, we are just calling the functions, okay, because this is already implemented, right? But as a student or as a person who's working in this field, I can say that you're supposed to understand these are the things that is underlying available. Yeah. So this is, I think, kind of, you can say, the motivate talks. Okay. So this is what we are going to see. What are the different things? So this number theory will be, you can say, the required in our today's even ciphers. That this is based on this, theory. So we start with the very basic number theory. I think the most basic one is the divisors, right? So divide by something, some number will be divided by some other number, and so on and so on. Okay. So it means we start with saying that, of course, it is a, I think it is a very simple math that we cannot divide, for example, a divided by 0. Now it is, you can say, the infinite. So we cannot divide any number by 0. So it means we have to work with a non-zero. Okay. So non-zero number is there, b. So here it is my b. Okay. So a divided by b. That is the way I am going to see it. So now if I can do the a divided by b, and of course if I have a remainder is 0, right? Okay, so remainder, it means that, let me take a kind of simple example. Consider a equal to 30, b equal to 6. Okay, so if you divide 30 by 6, okay, then you will get 5. You don't get any other reminders, right? Or if I will say, for example, next one, example a equal to 40 and b equal to again, let's say 6. So if I do 40 divided by 6, okay, then I will get 6 point something. Okay, so it means if I take 6 into 6, 36, then a plus 4 is there. So the remainder is equal to actually 4 here is there, right? So in this case, we don't have any remainder. In this case, we have a reminders. Okay, so we are talking of this case when we don't have any kind of a remainder. It means it is purely dividing the things, right? So that is what our concept of here divisor is there. Let me go in. Okay, so now we have a 3 numbers. Of course, all are the integer numbers. Okay, so here integers, this means negative, positive, everything is there. And generally we have a kind of reminders. Generally we are going with the positive things. Okay, so a, b, and m, that's we have numbers. And yes, b is a non-zero number. Okay, so that's always we assume that we cannot divide by 0. So that's why b is our non-zero numbers. Okay, so this is the notations. That's what we are going to use it. Even in your books or in literatures, they are using these notations that b divides a, right? So B is, you can say, the divisor of A. Okay. Now A maybe have a multiple divisor. It is true or false. Let me take one example. Consider 30. Okay, A equal to 30. Okay, so now let me ask a simple question. How many divisors to this 30 is available? Okay, is only one number. Let's say 1 is divisor. Okay, 2 is divisor. Okay, 3 is divisor. Similarly, so and so on. So can anyone, those who have yet not answered, can tell me that what are the other numbers that is come in the divisors of 30?
5, 6, 10.
Very good. 5, 6, 10. Good. Any other number?
15.
15.
Very good. Any other number?
30
30.
itself.
Yes, very good. Good. So right now, let's say if we are going with, you can say the non-zero, means we are not going with a negative things. Okay, so let's go, we are going with a positive. So all this, we can say those are the divisors. So it means that if you try to divide, even if you go, I think, in a negative, I won't see any changes, like it is -1 or -2, -3. That's try, you can try to use it. So ultimately you are, kind of multiply with a minus again, then you are getting a remainder 0. So that is the way it will be. So this is all, we can say, the divisors of 30. Good. You people know the maths, huh? Yes. I think, generally, as I'm in a admission, kind of committees. So in admission counselings. So I think several places, online, and when we are getting a calls from a students or a parents, sometimes they are asking, sir, is mathematics required in computer science? That's why they are confused, because they assume that mathematics is not required, means that is a kind of, language is there is no mathematics. But they, then we used to tell them, no, it depends on, even in whatever the areas that you are taking, either doesn't matter whether you are taking in terms of, for example, security, you will take AI, ML, any other area that you are going to take. In every areas the mathematics is coming. Now any part of mathematics, like in our security field, we are using a number theory. So that is one branch of a mathematics that we are going to explore more and more in that. So it depends on whatever the area that you are taking. So in a first year, of course, you have a certain mathematics subjects. Then they will say that, sir, is that hard? So sometime other than all the other subjects, they have kind of somewhat more fear in maths. But we tell them that maths is actually required. And according to me, maths is a way you can try to convince to someone easily. It's a kind of a proven steps, right? This is what the steps, next, and through that it is easily convinced. That is the way. Okay, so you can say, like what we have done for 30, this is an example of a 24. Okay, so all these are what the divisors of 24. Clear? So similarly, these are again a more examples, you can say the divisors. So here, that is what the positive and negative, both the way it will be taken. Of course, you can say the last one is also there is a true, because we claim that B is a non-zero number. We haven't told anything about A, right? A can be a zero number now. So it's like 0 divided by 17. Of course it is 0, na? That is the way it will be there. The remainder will be 0. It means any number is a, you can say, the divisor of 0. That is the way it will be there. So you can say the universal divisors, like, or in that way, that any number can try to divide them. So these are the other examples. So make sure that this symbol, try to remember, this number divides this number with a remainder 0. So this number we call the divisor of this number. Okay, that is the way. So there are certain properties you can see, like if I will write that A divide 1, right? So it means what can be A can be either -1 or +1, because if I use any other value of A other than plus or -1, what will happen? Did I get a divisor, means remainder 0 or not?
No.
Very good. So it means if I use any number other than plus or -1, it not divides the 1. Okay, good. Other property, if A is the divisor of B, B is the divisor of A, then you can claim that A is either equal to plus B or a equal to minus b, whatever that thing. Okay, so either positive is that or a negative. It means if both the number dividing each other, right, then the number can be either same but with a signs will be there, either positive or negative. Clear? Of course. So it means b is not equal 0. So any number that is not actually here, this due to this PowerPoint, it is actually this symbol, right? So take care of that thing. Okay. So any number b that is not actual 0, because we assume that b is a non-zero number. So any number if we divide with 0, so it means that is we call the divisor. So any numbers other than 0 is the divisor of 0, right? So similarly, if a tends to b tends to c, then a tends to c. Okay. So if let's say the one student giving their discussions to other students giving that discussion to third students, and ultimately one student is giving a discussion to the third student. So if a is the divisor of b, b is the divisor of c, then a is the divisor of c. Okay, you can see the example. This 11 is the divisor of 66, 66 is the divisor of 198. Then you can say this is actually implied. Okay, then 11 is the divisor of 198, as that simple. Clear? So that is the properties of divisibility. One more kind of thing is there. If b is divisor of a, b, h is divisor of b is also a divisor of h, both g and h both. Then b is also a divisor of some m and n that we are going to multiply with g and h. That is also there. Okay. So that's example you can try to see. Okay. For example, I will take b equal to 7, g equal to h. Okay. And then this value. So you can try to see that 7 is the divisor of 14, 7 is the divisor of 16. So this is what the first property. So that is what here. This is what the second property. That is what the here. Now, sorry, it means if you do this thing, ultimately if you multiply the 3 here with g and 2 here with h. Okay. In that case, 7 is the divisor of, you can say in bracket, if I'm going to write 3 into 14 plus 2 into 63. Okay. So if you solve these equations, 42 plus something and then divide by 7, ultimately the 7 is also a divisor of that number 2. Okay. So that is the way it is going to be work out. These are, we can say, the properties of our divisors. Okay, so now this is in general, you can say when you are dividing a some number. Okay, so kind of a relationships. Oh, sorry, let me try to remind. Okay. So if we have a some number n, okay, so not an exact entire divisor, but with some reminders, right? So some reminders. So and that's, for example, you can see the example. If we can write 17 in terms of 15, so 15 into 4 ultimately 60. We cannot go 5. If we go with 5, 15 into 5, that is 75. That is more than 70. So 70 and the you can say the 10. So this is, we can say, the quotient and the remainder. Okay. So here q will be the 4 and the remainder is the 10. So that is the way they are trying to, you can see this number. This is my 15. This is the 4 and this is actually the range of the next. This is 4 and 5, the range between 4 and 5. So somewhere this 70 is lying in this scale, and whatever that is remaining part, that is, you can say, the reminders. Okay, so this is from here to the next 60. So 60 to the next, that is, you can say, the 70. So remaining is 10. So the same thing you can see in equations here. The same thing they have used using some kind of, you can say, the scale. Okay, so you have a scale. On scale you are doing this thing. So this is in general relationship. So that is in terms of n, whatever multiple of n, that is the there. So now this is our q into n and this is q plus 1 into n. So that is the difference between these two is this. So now this we want to target the a. Okay, so that is what they try to map this q here. They will try to map the r here. Okay, and they will try to map the a here. Okay, that is the way it is going to be doing. Okay, so this is general, you can say, the reminders, quotient. Okay, and whatever the number that we want to divide. Okay, so if our r is 0, right? So that's why you can say that r is always between 0 to kind of a n. Okay, that is the way it will be there. and that is try to. Okay, just one question from my side to you students. Why it is not less than or equal to? Why it is strictly less than? So let me select. So I want a reason why r is between 0 to n, means 0 is there, right? 0 is less than equal to r, but why it is not less than equal to n? So can you give me a case in which r becomes n, the remainder becomes n? Or I think they forget to write the equal to.
So, but if we include r is equal to n, then it will be like q will be added one times. That's it, and n will be 0.
No, if your remainder is equal to the number, right, that you want to add, you are dividing with n, right? So if your remainder is n, why don't you take in place of q, you can take q plus 1. Okay, so actually if you are trying to prove this mathematically, so consider a case of r equal to n. For example, I am telling. Okay, so in that case, what is this equations? A equal to, sorry for this, drawing, qn plus, we can assume that r is n, right? The remainder remains n, so we can write in this way. But this is actually, you can see q plus 1 n, and you can say an entire plus 0. So now this is my the next new quotient, and this is my remainder. So if my remainder is n, why don't I take one more leap of a n? So ultimately my quotient is increased from q to q plus 1, and the remainder is 0. So it means it is a actual divisor, right? So in that case, that particular n becomes the divisor of a. Okay. So that's why you can say r is less than n. R is never be a n. It is at max n minus 1. Okay. So the case when it is a 0, it means the perfect divisor. If it is n minus 1 at the last, it is going to be used. Good. So the next one that we are going to use it is the GCD, the greatest common divisor. So now you people know that why we started with the divisors. Now we are going in the next one, that is the GCD, a greatest common divisors. That is what a number theory is there. So it means this is what you can say the functions GCD. There are giving two arguments a and b. Okay. Now you have to give a reply, that number that is divisor of both the one and that is the greatest, right? So for example, let me try to use 24 and 30. For example, a equal to this, b equal to this. Now let me select a students who can try to tell me. I think for b we have worked out the divisors. So let me try to write down 1, 2, 3, then 5, 6, then 10, 15 and 30. These are the divisors, right? The word is greatest, so that's why we are not going in a negative. Okay, so let me pick up a student who can try to tell me the answer of the divisors of a. Okay, if anyone want, they can try to raise the hand so that I can give a chance. Those who want me to, means they can guide me to write the divisors of 24. Those who knows the divisors of 24, please raise the hand so that I am going to pick the student and they can try to guide me. No one knows the divisors of 24.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8.
Actually, Jit, I asked to raise the hand.
Okay, first I don't.
Yes. Okay, I think someone has raised the hand. Who has raised the hand? Okay, Hers. Hers. Yeah, can you give me the answers, Hers?
Sir, 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 8.
6 is there.
Yeah, 6 is also there.
Okay.
6, 8.
And 24.
No, 12.
Oh, 12. Okay. And 24 is there?
Yes, sir. 24 is also there.
Good. Very good. Yeah. So it is a correct set. We have, these are the divisors of 24. So now we have to find the common divisors between these two. Okay. So let me try to use the different color provided. Color is there. Okay. So these are common. I'm just doing a row that is common numbers. 6, 12. Done. So this I have done a kind of a bridge between those who are the common divisors. So actually we have first what we have done actually, if you see the program these definitions, we have first find out the divisors. Once we done the divisors, then we started the next task. We have find out the common divisors. Okay. So the common divisors, these are the common divisors 1, 2, 3 and 6. So these are the common divisors. Now out of this we are interested in the greatest common divisors. Okay, so this one out of all this is the greatest. So that's why the answer of GCD 24, 30 is equal to 6. Okay, if I write this thing GCD of 30, 26, will it going to same or change? If I just same. Okay, very good. So it is again the same. So if I whatever the way I'm writing A and B, the greatest common divisor is not going to change. So this is what a one example. Now make sure that when we are using in a security, we are of course not going to use the normal numbers or as this simple numbers 24 and 30, right? We are using the bigger numbers. So do you think that for a bigger numbers this strategy is helpful? I don't think so, because if I have to work out all the divisors of both the numbers, and even if that both number as bigger numbers, right? Maybe 5, 6, 7 digit. If I am more lucky, it is a 20, 40 digit number is there. Do you think that in that case first I have to find out all the divisors, again for the other number I will try to find out the divisors, and then I am going to do this method? No, for explanations, for example, smaller fine, but this is not efficient algorithms, right? So it means we require some method that even though we have a whatever the length of A and B, still that process is going to be helpful to us. So this is what the GCD. Okay. So this is another example of GCD 60 and 24. The number is 24. Okay, of course. Okay, so now if we are getting two numbers for which we are getting GCD equal to 1, so it means they are called relative prime number. What do you mean by relative prime number? That this number 8 and 15 are relative prime. The reason is that they have only one divisor that is common, that is 1. So by default, if your numbers are not 0 and B, of course the common factor is always be a 1. So if your GCD of the both number is 1, that is we call the relative prime numbers. Clear? So now, yeah, so just try this. See, let's see whether we can try to use this method here. Find out all the GCD of 1970 and 1066, and then we can do it. No, we cannot find the divisors of both, and then we are trying to find. So let's try to see if some other method is there. So just try to see how the things is written here. What we are doing first, we are taking the A. Consider this is a and this is a B. Okay. So what actually we are doing here? So now you can remember our quotient and remainder that particular slides. So what we are doing actually, we are dividing A divided by B. Okay. So this is something you can say this is our particular if this I will say sorry, this is A. Okay. So this is I can use Q into B plus R. That is what the method is there, right? So whatever the quotient and remainder. So first we divide 1970 by 1066. So we are getting something. Yet our task is not complete. Don't worry. We are going more and more ahead, but we are using this methods, right? So previously this is our A and B. Now look at the second steps. Can you see a change in A here? A value of A is changed here, right? It means previously it was 1970. Now it is 16. It means according to me, this value, when I'm calling next time, it is coming this thing, and this value it is coming here. So it means something is there. So what steps actually, if you see here, what I am doing, I am actually, you know, kind of storing the value a equal to b here. So b is now going to a, and then b equal to r. So whatever the remainder, okay, so these steps I am performing. And second thing, you are seeing that again I have to run. So it means it is an example of a recurrence, right? So again I am calling the functions, but with a change of this thing. So that's, you can see here, this is now coming here, so and so. Okay, so now again I have to call the functions continuous. So maybe I will call the functions till certain time. I cannot call it infinite time. Okay, so now I have 162. So 162 is coming here, and then we have a 94, that is reminder. Again 94 coming here. This is 162 coming here, 68. Okay, then go ahead, continue till we are getting something here. Okay, and so on and so on. Again we are going ahead. Okay, then now this thing is done. We got reminders, right? That is 0. Okay, so it means the moment something you cannot go ahead from this reminder things, the next iterations, then whatever this value that is here, right, that is actually, that is becomes our GCD numbers. Okay, so now what is the GCD of 1970 and 1066? 2. Okay, so 2 is the common number between 1970 and 1066, the greatest common divisors. Okay, so any question in this method? We are also going to see one more examples. Okay, but this is what entire method. Every time you have to change the value of a and b, every time you are getting reminder. So at the end of reminders, either it is a 0 or you cannot proceed further. At that time you have to stop it. Okay, so that is what the thing is there. So we will see one more examples in which we can again continue. You can see the one more examples. So now here one moment of time at max you are getting a 0 reminders. Okay, so till you don't get a reminder 0, you have to continue. The moment you are getting a reminder 0, you have to stop. So look at this values. So here it was actually the same as previous slide, but here the way of writing is changed, right? So these are, you can see the numbers every time a and b is there. So a and b, this is what a quotient, this is what a reminders. Okay, and now similarly the b is coming here, the reminder is coming here. So this is our next become a and b, again quotient reminder. So you can see every time reminders is reducing. Okay, and at one moment of time reminder is 0. So at that time whatever the previous value of reminders or the value of b, actually both are the same. Here you can see this or this. Okay, so this is 1078. So now you can see that these are actually, you know, a 10-digit number. So do you think that for 10-digit number you are going you know, step by kind of things and you are finding all the divisors of both the 10-digit numbers and then you are going to do? No, this one is much more efficient methods, that just using this switching of these numbers and you are getting your answers. Okay, so any questions in this thing, GCD? How the method is works? I think indirectly you got the algorithm too, that every time we are switching the a and b, we are finding the divide and finding the floor of that thing, so that you will get the quotient and the reminders. Okay, that is what a kind of our simple algorithm steps, and every time we are calling the functions. Okay, so let me give you one homework. uh, yes, I think someone is asking.
Sir, we have to multiply dividend by divisor until we don't get means minimum reminder. Is that correct?
No, 0 reminder.
No, but sir, for the first step.
Yeah, first time. Yes, first time the whatever the you know, kind of our, you know, divide, actual kind of a divide. When you divide both the numbers, so whatever the reminder that you are getting, that's you have to put. It's a simple, you know, division operations. It's like, consider
Sir,
that.
means we have to increase quotient one by one till we get the minimum reminder.
No, quotient is not increasing. It is increase, decrease. You can see here. Here
Sir,
it is 3, here it is
not
1.
not
Okay.
specifically in the whole question. I am just talking about the first row. A is equal to, the first one is A is equal to and B is equal to. So first we have to do B into, means B into quotient 1 is equal to, means we have to first multiply B into quotient is equal to 1 and then see if the remainder R1 is least or not. That's way.
No, no. Look at these steps here. Okay, just let me go try to remove this thing. Consider initially you will be given two numbers, right? A and B. Nothing else is given to you, only A and B. So this is my, you can say the A, this is my, you can say the B. Okay. So now we have to do a simple divide. So whatever A and B that is given to you, even in a reverse also the same, process will be there. So consider this is 1970, that is A. So if I divide 1970 divide by 1066, so whatever the remainder and whatever the quotient, okay. So just generally in our, let's say, programming language, if I try to explain you in a C language, okay. So if I do a 9710 divided by 1066, it is an integer divide. So what I get? I will get 1, right? Okay. The quotient, the remainder will be removed because point is not allowed in integer. So that's why you are getting 1. So straight away you got the quotient, right? And now you try to multiply this quotient with this 1066 and do the minus. Okay. So 1970 minus 1066 into whatever the remainder that you are getting, and you will get the quotient. Sorry. This is a quotient, you will multiply, you will get the reminders. So now you got the steps in terms of our language.
Yes,
Just
sir.
a simple divide, and if you are doing integer divide, you will straight away got the quotient. Okay, and use that quotient to get the remainder, because next times your numbers are switching again. Okay, so next time if I am calling again, I will call with 1066 and 904. So now next time what I have to do, 1066 divided by 904. Okay, and that's why I have to check out what is my answers. Okay, so this is the next one, you can see. Okay, again I will got 1 point something, but this is 1 point is going to be ignored. So here 1 I am getting, so this is become my next quotient. And then if I try to multiply with 904, so actually 1066 minus 904 into 1, that will get your reminders. Okay, so this is what the thing is there. So in terms of language, you require to write just this step. It is a recursive step. So when it is going to be complete, when you got your reminder 0, means the moment you got your reminder 0, you cannot go ahead, right? That is the way. Okay, so just try to write down the homework questions. First question is, again it is a homework question, so if you want to discuss, I can try to help you. If fine, if you are comfortable with your answers and done, it is okay. Maybe during the exams, if I remember, I'm going to ask. Okay, so first question, as you people know the complexity, right? I think all of you have done the subject algorithms. So find the complexity of GCD program. Consider A and B. Okay, so now is that big O of n or n square? What do you say? Just I'm asking randomly. What is the complexity of GCD of A comma B? It is a big O of n square.
So it depends on the logic of the program.
So consider using this tentative logic that every time we have to do a divide and every time we have to kind of multiply, right? So that the two operations we are going to use, and one is to check whether the remainder is 0 or not. So what is, you can say the complexity is a constant because we don't require any for loop, right? It is a recursive calls. So what will be the complexity? Yeah, those who got the outstanding grade O grade in algorithm subject. Come on, you got to give answer. Yes.
Sir, I think maximum of log of maximum of A comma B.
Sir,
Yes. Yeah, Chira.
so it is going to be big of and I studied it somewhere. This GCD, the thing you just taught us.
Okay.
I
Big of.
studied it in some online class. So
Okay. Okay. So one answer is big of n. Okay. Manav.
Sir, big of n.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So big of n. So there is a 1 vote. There is a 2 vote of big of n. Okay.
The big of n.
Well, looks like interesting to me that if I am writing A and B, then what is the n here? I haven't defined the n. I have only defined A and B, two numbers. Did I told that you have a total n numbers? Then where the n is come in the picture? So that is a puzzle I am putting to you, that you have to find the complexity of GCD of A comma B. Okay. If you want to replace A, B with X, Y, any numbers, fine. So first question is the complexity. Now second homework questions. Okay. Of course, as I'm writing this thing in this lecture, in this note, so that's why it is not available when I'm giving you the slides, right? So that's why I'm writing in this blank notes. Second questions, in place of these things, GCD of A comma B, here you can see that this number is a bigger number than this, right here. And if I use the same example here, just let me go in the next slides. I can see again, yeah, this number is again, you can say the bigger number kind of this number. So will it be always required that for any to find the GCD of A comma B, A must be the greater than B? Or if I want to apply the same steps by reversing A and B in these examples so that this become less than that numbers, will it work? That is what the question. Okay, so I am putting that question to you people, that will it require that to find the GCD of A comma B, A is always be greater than B, or it is not, then will the same steps required, will I get, because we already know that GCD of A comma B or GCD of B comma A must be the same. Na? If I find the GCD of 30 comma 24, that is a 6. Then 24 comma 30, that's also be a 6 na. So will it be required this steps or not? So that is what your a second homework questions. Okay, so two homework questions, very easy questions I am giving you. First is to find the complexity. Not only find the complexity, you have to, if I will remember in some lecture, then you have to also kind of, I'm going doing a discussions, right? With your complexity. Discussions means what? I'm not giving you the answers, but whatever your answers, whatever your thoughts, I am trying to just, kind of discuss that. Okay, is this things like in this n square, that's I have asked the questions that if we are defining A and B, what is n here, right? If you see the algorithms, for example, sorting, searching, the n is the number of elements. Here we are only giving 2 elements. We are not giving more than 2 elements, right? And also we are here calling a recursive functions. It is not a iterative here, it is a recursion base, right? So it means recursion require some certain different way of doing analysis. That's where it is going to be there. So that's why it is not a easy, that's hint I can give you, like what we can do in our normal algorithms. This is not an easy one. Writing easy, executing easy, but finding complexity is a somewhat tricky. So that somewhat tricky, but I am putting to you people, considering that you have a kind of your algorithms, advantage. And second question is this, that if I will switch, A is must be greater than B always, or maybe if A is less than B, that is also fine. We can try to use the same method, it is work. So that, kind of a two questions that I'm going to put to you people. Okay. Okay, so I think we better try to, because if I will start a new topic, it may take some time, and if that time may take your break of 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so that other than going ahead, let me try to stop here. So those who are having any kind of a questions,
Sir.
Just a minute, Aditya. 1 minute. Okay. Okay, Aditya. Yeah, tell me.
Sir, can you please explain how to decrypt the real fence cipher? Can you explain some approach about it? Encryption and decryption both.
Okay, so I think in the slides, what I have given you the encryption, na? In
Yes.
the slides that I have given, it is going in a diagonal way, right? That's what you are asking. Okay, so you want a decryption of the rail fence, na? Okay, so let me, I think, go to try to share some window, maybe some. Oh, sorry. Stop presenting. Okay, just those who want to leave, they can leave. Okay, that's fine. I am now going with some doubt solving, so that's fine. So if you have nothing, so this rail fence decryptions you want, let me try to share the screen. Just I want a one blank screen so that I can try to discuss with you. Okay, so just don't go in the title. This is a blank that I want it. So let me go with your rail fence. Okay. So here your thing is there too. The one is the message and one is the depth, right? So according to what depth you are taking. So for example, let me take a message. Let me take this, kind of, this is message. Okay. Consider we have a depth, kind of equal to 3. Okay. So you have kind of, if I go, well, let's say with this particular. So THI, this is okay. Now your message will be, you go with row by row. So T I S E H S S E S, G I M A. Okay. So this will be your message. Okay. Now what the decryptions will do? Now decryptions, those who are doing decryptions, they know that they have to also prepare a kind of 3 rows, right? And accordingly, whatever the length of the message, for example, this is what the length of message. So from the length of message, they got to know that, okay, this is what the entire length of the my particular size. So number of columns they are getting from this message, the number of rows, it is fixed because my depth is 3. So now what the receiver will do, receiver knows that these are the places where the message is there. Character as of now, the receiver don't know, right? So character the receiver have to put once they will receive the particular message. Okay. So these are, I can say, the empty spaces for a receivers right now. Okay. So once the receiver have empty spaces, then it is try to fill this particular part. Okay. So let me go with my ink color. I am trying to change. Okay. So what receiver once get this message. Okay. So from receiver goes the number of columns. From the number of columns, receiver will prepare this blank kind of rows and column matrix. Okay. And try to highlight the spots that these are the spots. That's where I have to put a characters from a message. Okay. And now it is going in the same way. Clear? It is going a row by row. So it is put the first the T, I, S, E. So again, receiver have to put in the same by state to state. H, S, S, E, S, G, so and so on. Now once receiver will put this message, okay, then receiver have to again work on a diagonal way, okay, to get the entire message. Okay, so that's why you can see always encryption and decryptions are a mirror. So whatever the steps you are doing in encryptions, just put those steps in a mirror image in a decryptions. Right here, what the sender will do first, put in the diagonal, then take row by row. What the receiver will do? Put in a row by row, take in a diagonal. Okay. So that's why the receiver will get this particular things. So that's why it is not easy like a Caesar cipher. So now you can say your program is increasing from week to week. Somewhat more and more things will be there. Okay. Because now you are entering from a simple cipher to the complex ciphers. Why we are making this complex? To the problems to the attackers. That's where what we are going to put it. Okay. Any other thing to anyone?
By submitted Caesar.
Yes. You have submitted Caesar cipher.
Caesar cipher assignment in the Railfans assignment tab in the Teams.
Okay, and once you submit, you don't have any choice, right? To again, add something once you submit, right? That's what you are asking. Huh?
Yeah, so can you consider my assignment in Railfans tab, Caesar cipher assignment in Railfans? Can you consider it?
Okay, you can put in the chat so that I will reply you there that what is the steps so that we can try to see whether you can try to edit. If it is not edit, then I will ask you to send me a mail. Then you can send me a mail. First, I will. Okay, you
I
have
have
put
already sent you the mail, sir. I have yesterday sent you the mail and also put in the Teams chat.
Then done. Then you will get a reply soon. Okay, so don't worry.
Okay, thank you. And sir, today's assignment, where will I submit? Because in already Railfans I have submitted.
So that's fine. In that case, we will see that from your email if there is an update is not allowed. How have you uploaded Caesar cipher in your assignment 1 or sorry assignment 2 or it is as of now blank?
Sir, it is now blank, not handed in.
Okay, done. Then I think well, I think that is already closed, so that's I cannot take it again. So fine, you can send me a mail. So we will see that from the mail we will try to consider. So please take care next time.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. We will stop the recording.
Today I received assignment 1 feedback.